Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video. You may have noticed I got different scenery behind me. That's because I just got done recording this interview with CleanSpark's previous CEO and current chairman and board member, Matthew Schultz. This interview was awesome. Now, I'm not going to take a whole lot of time out of this video because it's going to be a long video as it is, but I just want to say if you like this sort of content, leave a like down below. In the comment section, let me know how many shares of CleanSpark you own and at what price you bought them at. In addition to that, I need to say I am not a registered financial advisor. This was just a conversation I had with the current chairman of CleanSpark that I thought would be entertaining and informative to you guys. As always, do your own research, do your own due diligence. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy a stock or a company just because I say to buy it, because I may be selling shares as you're buying it. If you see my video that I posted a long time ago and think it's a current video, things like that, I don't want to be responsible for you guys losing money. So I'm just an average shareholder like you guys. I invested to make money. That's what investors do, right? And if there's something material that changes about the company and I decide to sell and you're seeing this video after I've sold, it's the same thing. Now, the last thing I need to say is nobody paid me to do this interview. I didn't pay Matt to do this interview. None of us were paid. This was on our own free will. I didn't receive any form of compensation. Now, I recently launched Rex Nation, or the memberships feature on my channel. If you're interested in that, hit the join button down below. I made sure all of my members got all of their questions answered, and I didn't leave any of their questions out. So if you want premium content, private access to me, automatic alerts when I buy or sell a stock, that sort of thing, click the join button down below for more information. And with that, guys, I'm going to hand it over to the interview. I really hope you guys enjoy this. Took a lot of time out of my day. Matt took a lot of time out of his day to do this. So again, please leave a like down below. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, guys, so I'm here with CleanSpark's former CEO and co-founder, current chairman and board member, Matthew Schultz, and we're going to do a quick interview here. And there's no better way to explain a company than for the chairman to give his own pitch on the company. So I'm going to let Matt take it away for a minute or two so he can just explain what CleanSpark is.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And I really appreciate the opportunity to do this. It's something I've never done before. And we appreciate your interest and the people that follow your channel. So this is a cool opportunity. I want to start out by saying that, this is an informal discussion, but we are a publicly traded company. So some of the things I'm going to talk about, I'm going to say statements like anticipates, believes, thinks, expects, etc. And those terms are all what they call forward-looking statements. And Ben's going to put up on the screen our disclaimer, our safe harbor statement. And I'd encourage everyone to go to cleanspark.com/IR, and there's a copy of our investor presentation there, as well as those forward-looking statements. And the reason that is, like any company, like any investment, investing in CleanSpark involves a degree of risk, and we just want to make sure that everyone understands what that risk looks like, and don't want to come across like there's no downside to investing in publicly traded companies, because everybody knows that's not the case. So with that said, CleanSpark, what is CleanSpark? We're a software and technology company, and we've evolved to become a more pure software play out of necessity. We started out a number of years ago. We secured a grant from the California Energy Commission to design and implement a microgrid at Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton. And the challenge that we found back then was there were 55 unique assets on site. So some manufacturers of solar panels, some manufacturers of inverters or chargers or storage or whatever the case may be. And so when the California Energy Commission got together with the Marines and San Diego Gas and Electric and said, hey, we want to create a resilient energy solution on site, they published that grant. And uniquely, CleanSpark prevailed on that because most of our competitors said, well, we can make that work as a microgrid, we can solve your energy solution, but we're going to require that you get rid of the existing assets. So we're going to get rid of the solar panels and the storage that's on site and the inverters, so on and so forth, because a lot of our competition basically provides software to the extent that it supports their hardware sales.
I see.
So what we do differently is we allow all of those unique assets, regardless of who the manufacturer is, to work together in concert in a system, and it's controlled by our software, and the conclusions of how that software works are defined by our modeling solution, which is our other software product. So that's kind of in a nutshell. We create a system that controls energy generation and storage, as well as distribution, and it works in concert with or islanded, that is separate away from the grid, according to what matters to our client.
That's awesome. Yeah, you guys have a great market potential here just for growth. I mean, the numbers you guys are projecting, like you mentioned, I mean, if you're thinking about investing in the company, go through all their presentations. The growth and revenue you guys are expecting over the coming years is just unreal, which is why I think a lot of people find it as just such an enticing investment to make. On that note, CleanSpark, your stock is up huge today. You guys dropped a press release bomb this morning. Your new partnership with a company in Costa Rica. Would you mind going into some more detail on that, or just explaining how that partnership's going to work?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we started out, like our first deployments at Camp Pendleton, because what we do is so unique, we kind of had to wear all the hats. So we participated as what they call an EPC. So that's engineering, procurement, and construction. So CleanSpark was fully licensed as an electrical contractor. We built the system from the ground up. We installed the solar panels. We ran the conduits. We installed the inverters and the batteries and so forth. And that's not really our core competency. And what we're really good at is software and controls, as well as data analytics and modeling. Mm-hmm. So it became a transition for us to identify a better way to work with partners that would allow us to perform according to our skill set and not try and be all things to all people. Mm-hmm. And so we developed a partnership program. We put out a press release about that a while back, and we've continued to identify and seek out customers that complement what we do, that allow us an opportunity to correctly analyze and model a solution, and then provide the software and controls on a long-term basis for that solution. So in Costa Rica, I don't know if you got a chance to read very deeply in that press release, but I think the exact number, and don't quote me on this, you could look it up, but I think 53% of the US S&P 500 companies have a presence in some form or another in Costa Rica.
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
So the opportunity to find a partner there, and Sunshine is a fantastic partner. I mean, they're financed by the Norwegian Pension Fund. They've been in business 25 years. They have 200 locations already deployed across the country. And so to have the opportunity to work with Sunshine has been kind of a mutually beneficial relationship, because there are big US companies that are located in Costa Rica that have already taken advantage of Sunshine services in providing solar. But now they want to leverage the value of that solar and add storage, and then add additional generation, whether that's a fuel cell or wind or geothermal, and have that system function in a single ecosystem. And so to have that partnership with CleanSpark gives them the expertise that was kind of born out of, military hardened type secure solutions. Mm-hmm. And so it's a win-win. It gives us a partner on the ground to build the systems and deploy their software. And it gives them an opportunity to work with a customer that knows how to integrate those systems and create the most value, both for their customer and for their nation.
Yeah, great answer. I knew that was going to be one of my questions before the press release, whether that partnership platform was gaining any traction or whatever. And then I saw you release that press release this morning. Oh, I'm going to have to rephrase that question.
So let me interrupt really quick, Ben. It's not public, but you can go to cleanspark.com/partners. Mm-hmm. And there's a page there that talks about that partnership program. It also gives screen grabs of what our modeling solution looks like. So, feel free to access that and take a peek at it. It's pretty cool.
Good to know. Are you in any position where you can begin to model or forecast, your revenues that could potentially come from this Costa Rica partnership?
So it's a great question. So Costa Rica, the partnership with Sunshine, they already have a proposal pipeline in excess of $20 million in microgrids.
Wow.
Their principal, Eduardo, shared with us that they plan to bid on a number of additional microgrid solutions on a weekly basis. So it's a very unique opportunity. Yeah. It's very early stage right now. We do have familiarity with sunshine because we do have projects currently with sunshine. Now, we talked about some of those projects earlier in the year, some of the stuff that's going on in Costa Rica. And as those come to completion and commissioning, we'll certainly be discussing those in greater detail and at length. But we found Sunshine to be a fantastic partner with a really diverse customer base and a terrific skill set for their core competency.
Well, that's good to know. So speaking on the topic of, if the market in other countries, I mean, you guys are based in Utah, based in America, but you have great opportunity overseas in Costa Rica, and recently Australia has shown aggression to moving to renewables. Mm-hmm. Has there been any connections there between CleanSpark and somewhere in Australia, or is there an opportunity there for you guys?
Yeah, and so just to clarify, we didn't talk about this and plan that question ahead of time because it really dovetails into what we just talked about, and that is there are countries that are rapidly expanding their renewable energy agenda. To circle back to Costa Rica, 98.6% of the energy there is generated by renewables. It's primarily hydroelectric. So to penetrate that market would be impossible or more difficult for a U.S. company were we not to have those partnerships. Yep. So the idea of creating this partnership alliance has allowed us the opportunity to do that. Australia is certainly on our radar. Other partnerships in development on that program include not only domestic, but also Europe. We've got projects going in Brazil right now that are under some form of development. And then we also have a partnership we talked about a while back with a little company called International Land Alliance. And they're developing exclusive resorts in Mexico that are a distance away from the existing power grid. So the idea is CleanSpark will design, engineer, and control a community scale microgrid that will provide power to those entire communities. So the Australia approach is certainly one that we have partners on the ground that are interested in being able to offer CleanSpark as a solution to those customers that have already made an investment in solar and are looking to create the opportunity to island from the grid or to work in conjunction with the grid, or in some instances to sell power back to the grid as a revenue stream.
That was something I looked at as an investor, just the power that the island mode has and just how you can bring power to places that are far away from the traditional grid. It's just a powerful technology. So we're going to keep on the topic of overseas, the big explosion that happened in Lebanon. Prayers to everybody affected by that. But I had a question that somebody wanted me to ask, and that was, did Beirut's, did their microgrid hold up, or did they all lose power because of that explosion? Are you aware of what happened there?
Yeah, so obviously what happens within the U.S. embassy systems is somewhat confidential. Mm-hmm. But according to the information we have, there was never a disruption of power that affected the embassy. Now, I don't have specific details on what the condition was as far as a grid failure and the switch to renewables. But to speak about that, on your video, I watched that after you sent me the email and asked that we do this, and you talk about ATSs.
Yep.
So ATS is an automatic transfer switch, which is a fancy word to say a circuit breaker. But the switch gear that we sell is intelligent. So it gives us a physical place for our software to live, to make those decisions when to switch away from the grid to backup power that may be stored through a solar installation or to an emergency backup genset. And so the system that we have on base at the U.S. Embassy in Beirut is a quad redundant switchgear. And it comes out of kind of some of the circumstances that you've heard of that have happened, like in Benghazi, for example, that when a U.S. asset is threatened, one of the things that we don't have control over is the energy certainty.
Yep.
So in the event of a disruption of the traditional power grid, what our switchgear allows to make happen without a man in the loop and instantaneously, based on prioritization, is we're going to switch to a genset right now, and then we're going to store energy such that we can do day ahead forecasting with that modeling. We know if we've got plenty of solar to rely on, and it'll model what that resiliency looks like based on a time certain period of time or an indefinite period of time, according to what is the most important to our customer. So that system is designed to provide resilient power. And the most recent information that we have is that the embassy continued to operate without any disruption.
Wow, that's crazy. That's awesome. So you brought up the ATS switchgear. So I got to ask you, February 4th, you guys released a press release saying that you received an order for, I think, $1.5 million worth of that switchgear from an unnamed customer. You did give details that it was one of the nation's largest retailers and that they had 6,300 stores nationwide. There's speculation that that company is Walmart. Is there any additional information you can give to me and my viewers on that?
So I appreciate the question. And this isn't it's not like a shell game that we're trying to be secretive. To add a little bit of color to the question, my customer is an energy developer. As I mentioned before, we don't want to serve as all things to all people and be the ones that build the systems anymore, because our core competency is this disruptive software and technology approach that will literally, in our opinion, change the face of the energy markets globally. So my customer directly with me is an energy developer. Now, we did a test with their customer. The test exceeded the expectations of that customer, and they came back and subsequently made a larger order. Those orders have continued and have continued to grow in size. Now, because my customer's customer has a non-disclosure agreement, I can't speak directly to that. Here's what I'll tell you, Ben.
Okay.
The end-use customer is the largest retailer in the United States of America.
All right, somebody go Google that right now. Let's see who it is.
We'll just go with that.
All right, so I'm going to switch gears a little bit. You guys recently announced your earnings. Honestly, personally, I love the way you guys write a letter to shareholders explaining how the quarter went. Why did you choose to release those earnings earlier than you originally anticipated?
So, great question. The earnings date that most companies publish is really a deadline. And those deadlines are specific to the end of the reporting period of the quarter. And so there were a couple of reasons we wanted to do it. Number one, we have a fantastic staff. Of the 4 C-level offices in our company, it's 50-50 men and women. So we have a terrific staff. Our CFO, Lori Love, made it her agenda to have everything done, and to our audit firm in Houston, Malone Bailey, ahead of time, so that if we so choose to release those numbers early, we don't get caught up in the noise of everybody releasing all at once, especially when we close the quarter and recognize, hey, this is a big win for us. I mean, we try and be somewhat conservative in our forecasting, because the worst thing you can do is aim too high and miss.
Yep.
And so what we try to do is under promise and over deliver. And so not only did we beat the earnings estimate that the analysts had out there, and our revenues increased beyond what we had hoped, beyond what we had told the market, but we also were able to complete all of that analysis and get the audit done and certified beforehand. And so in our mind, it was just another opportunity to say, hey, this is, there's a date that we have to have it out. Why wait? I mean, we got great information. Let's get it to you early and let you make those decisions now rather than later.
And I love to hear that. I love companies that, forecast conservatively, and that really even makes me more of a bull on your company, because like I mentioned, I see your projections for growth. And if you're telling me those are conservative projections from you guys, I mean, wow. So my next question is, I don't know if you're allowed to talk about it. You are, because you probably are, because, you have to file with the SEC, but how many shares do you personally own or have been issued of CleanSpark?
So as the founder of the company and the original CEO, I am the largest, or one of the largest, private individual shareholders in the company. When we file our statements, we have to disclose what those positions look like. So I have a significant portion of ownership personally, held a large portion in my family trust. I have 6 kids, so I wanted to make sure that we structure this properly.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I also have the opportunity to buy additional shares in the company through warrants and options. And as our company continues to meet and exceed its performance goals, the management team and myself occasionally choose to take equity-based compensation in lieu of cash-based compensation. And when we do that, we have to make filings. You probably saw that Zach and Lori and Roger and a couple of our, Tom, one of our directors, Dr. Tom Wood, chose to take equity in lieu of stock because we're all ardent supporters of the company. Nobody's a seller. We have big hopes and dreams for the company, and my position is going nowhere but up.
I love that. As an investor, young investor, I love to see management teams or, board members that are invested in the company that they're serving, because that means if the share price is hurting, that means they're hurting as well. They feel for shareholders. If the stock price is going up, good for them. They're making money. If it's going down, they're going to do everything they can to fix that. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of people talking lately, you got your stock price has just skyrocketed recently. Just people are worried that at this point it is too late to invest in CleanSpark. Can you convince them otherwise? Because apparently some of us aren't doing a good enough job like myself.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to convince somebody of anything, but I really can't do that. I can't forecast. But what I can say, if you look at it from a big picture perspective, okay? CleanSpark has a market cap of like $115, $120 million today. So compare that. So CleanSpark is projecting profitability by the end of this calendar year. We're exceeding our earnings numbers. We're signing up record numbers of new partners. We're deploying projects all over the world. And our software solutions, both our modeling system and our software and controls platform, are completely unique and disruptive, and in fact patented on the ability to do what we do. And we're valued at, like I said, $100 million plus. Now, that number is organically generated by the number of people that are aware of our company and supply and demand. So there are a limited number of shares. When people become more aware of the company, it's Econ 101, right? More demand increases, yep. Supply stays the same, price is going to go up. So you compare that to other companies that are on the market today. Okay, so what's the difference? You look at a company like Nikola, all right? So the CEO of Nikola buys a $40 million house and chooses to put $30,000 worth of solar panels on his house. And instead of, flipping out his American Express card and paying for it, he runs it through his business so they can then be on CNBC and they can say, hey, we beat our earnings. We did $30,000 in sales. The difference between those two scenarios is this. That company has investment banks behind it and analysts behind it and people that are paid to make that company, that stock go. We went organically. We applied for the NASDAQ. We moved up on our own. All of the PR that we've done ourselves. The original investors, I've said this before in answers to some of our shareholders' inquiries. My friends and family bought stock in CleanSpark at $8 a share. So, it was 80 cents, but in order to qualify for the NASDAQ, we simply for price compliance, we did a reverse split back the end of last year. Mm-hmm. And the people that I care most about have invested in this stock at $8. They didn't invest at $8 to break out and get their money back. They invested at that price point because they believe in the company and where it's going. So everybody that's involved in our company has made an individual buying decision. It's not a hedge fund. It's not an investment bank that's pushing it into a different fund. It's all organic. That gives you a kind of a plus and a minus. Number one, I think we're, personal opinion, full disclosure, I think we're drastically undervalued. What we have is completely disruptive in the industry, and we do not have a direct competitor. As I said in the beginning, our competitors, Navigant Research ranked the top 75 microgrid companies in the world. And a year or so ago, they distilled that down to the top 15 microgrid controller companies in the world. CleanSpark came in at number 10. So 10, big deal, right? Well, 11's General Electric, 12's Lockheed Martin. So, we're knocking down some big players because we're doing it right, but it's a lack of awareness that the stock price is where it is. Conversely, you look at a Nikola, it comes out at $70, it's worth more than Chrysler or Ford, and the stock has continued to fall, but it's a result of being overhyped and having a failure to perform. So that's the difference. It's a slow and steady race, but if you pull a chart on our company, I mean, it looks like a big smiley face for the course of the year. We were doing well December, January, February, and then like the rest of the world, the pandemic hit. Mm-hmm. So I'm standing, this is early March last year, right when they canceled the NBA season. I'm standing before a group of investors in Calgary. No, that's not true. It was in Seattle. Okay. And I was asked the question about the value of our company because our stock price had fallen so low that the market cap of our company was less than the amount of cash we had in the bank.
Wow.
So, market conditions and dynamics being what they are I feel like our price was artificially depressed.
Yeah.
And if you ask any member of our team, we're only getting started.
I like to hear that. So you mentioned, economics 101, supply stays the same, demand for your shares goes up, your stock price is going to increase. There aren't a whole lot of shares outstanding of CleanSpark, right? So you have a low float and you're saying supply is staying the same. Do you guys have any plans of ever doing a public offering or any sort of share dilution in the future?
Yeah, so that's a terrific question, and that's a lot of people get afraid of that because when you talk about dilution, most people look at OTC or pink sheet companies that issue a bunch of shares for consultants or services, and it dilutes down the common shareholder, and I mean shareholders of common stock, not just common people.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying. But so what we've expressed multiple times, the only way that we will dilute the market, and that is by issuing additional shares, is for accretive growth and acquisition. That is to make an acquisition of a company that supports our model for consolidation in the industry, to allow us competitive advantages, and for growth. So when you say, is there plans for an offering to dilute the company? We wouldn't be a publicly traded company if we didn't plan to use that equity as currency to make additional acquisitions. But the idea is the value of those acquisitions exceeds the value of the equity or the funds that are raised to pay for them. So the net result is an increase in shareholder value. We did a small raise specifically for that purpose. The stock was at the market. We raised $4 million. And I think if you go back and look, it was $325 when we did the raise. The stock didn't even slow down. I mean, the use of proceeds for that was specific to the purpose we discussed, and that's for growth.
I like that answer a lot. So this is just kind of a personal question that popped into my head. So you like to keep the market on its toes. You guys release multiple press releases every week normally, at least one press release a week normally is what I've noticed. My question for you is, if any, how many press releases do you guys have on hand that you have ready to release at a certain given time?
So it's a great question. We're required to disclose a material event within 4 days of when that happens. Okay. So in order to be compliant, now let me say, just to make that a little bit more clear, when we sign a contract, if it's a letter of intent, that's not a material event. Once that consummates into a transaction, that becomes a material event. But during that period of time, we're developing what that press release looks like. We're getting quotes from the people involved. We're vetting and verifying all the different aspects. So our normal course of business is not only selling and supporting software and developing partnerships, but it's also in identifying strategic acquisitions, strategic partnerships, new countries that we could target, new relationships to further leverage and develop. So we're just like any other business. It's just that when we reach an agreement with somebody, generally it's a significant agreement. So, the Costa Rica press release that I had today, that's been in the works for a while. So, if somebody asks me, hey, what can you tell us about Costa Rica? Well, it's a beautiful place. And, they use a lot of renewable energy, but I really can't go into a lot of detail about it because, one of the things that we want to make sure of, I said we try and underpromise and overdeliver. We also want to really hedge on the side of caution, that I don't want to leak information out that's inappropriate. I don't want to leak information out that, could potentially put somebody in a position where they're trading on non-public information. So we try and be very, very careful. As you know, I answer every investor call. If I don't answer it, I call them back. I answer all the investor emails. We've outsourced IR before, but the challenge is, you're hiring a firm for X number of dollars a month to answer the phone and read a script off a tear sheet. And that doesn't really effectively relay what our company's about, what we're looking towards, what we're building for, what we believe in, what we're passionate about. That's why we choose to internalize that. So, we have plenty of developments. We have plenty of projects in the queue. We talk about that in a global perspective. Hey, we expect, we're looking for this number. We're forecasting $10 million for this period of time. We expect profitability by this period of time. And we try and keep that vague and ambiguous. And then when there's material that we can discuss, we want to make sure the market's aware of it.
I appreciate that. My next question is, it's still stock price related. You've seen success, great growth numbers projected over the coming years. You may not be able to answer this question like some of my viewers would appreciate you answering it as, but have you guys received any interest? Has a bigger company came up to CleanSpark and said, hey, we have interest in buying you guys out. We see the disruptive technology you have. You have starting a monopoly in this industry. We have interest in buying you out. Have you received any interest?
So that's one of those kind of safe harbor we got to tiptoe around. They were saying on CNBC that it was a year ago today that Elon Musk said that there was a private equity firm that wanted to buy Tesla out of $420 a share. And the stock went up and Elon Musk got in trouble with the SEC. And you look back and now it's a blip on the radar and Tesla's 3 times that amount. So as a normal course of business, especially when you have a unique disruptive technology that we do get a lot of interest from private equity groups, from other larger power players. I can give you a specific example. We had a conversation with a private equity fund that is rolling up assets in renewable energy and storage. And they reached out to us as a potential controller solution to be able to bring that all together in a single ecosystem. And the consensus from this PE firm was CleanSpark is unique because every other software and controls company was really a customized development. And CleanSpark has created our system is configurable. It doesn't have to be customizable. So the amount of human capital to go from a project in Costa Rica to the controlled distribution agriculture that this facility that we announced in California City, it doesn't require a ton of human capital because the platform is developed. And so for a private equity group to say, listen, we've looked around the world to find a company that does this, and there isn't. That's a huge feather in our cap. But I can tell you honestly, there's nobody on my team. Nobody that would vote to sell the company anywhere even close to where we're at right now, because we, again, my opinion, we're a multi-billion-dollar company in the not too distant future.
I completely agree with that, and I really appreciate that answer as well. So you brought up Tesla. I probably sprung something in a lot of my viewers' brains. There's been you have confirmed, if I'm not mistaken, in a web conference that you guys have worked with Tesla in the past. My question for you is, what type of work did you do for Tesla? Is that work still ongoing? Are there any formal partnerships that potentially could be in the works?
So, delicate question. So that was my partner, Zach, that answered that on a conference call. And he couched it by saying, I have to be careful how I answer that. And so I'll echo that statement that I do need to be careful. So let's put it in context, right? So you sell your CleanSpark shares and you get a big grip of money and you go down to your local Tesla dealer and you buy a Tesla car. You could say I got a relationship with Tesla. So, that's people, I don't want to be that vague and ambiguous. We have a relationship with Tesla. Our relationship with Tesla is based on integrating their storage solution into projects that we have and continue to develop. And as a result, that relationship, we have expectations that that relationship will go long-term into the future. It's very unique because we have the ability within that the boundaries of that relationship to offer Tesla's solution within another distributed energy system. And Tesla has competitive advantages in their space, just like Samsung does. So we do work with Tesla. We do have a vendor supplier relationship. It's a bit deeper than that because we do utilize our control system in some of the development that we do with Tesla. And we'll certainly, when the time is appropriate, we'll discuss that more in the future.
Interesting. I like that answer. I've liked all your answers. Okay, so I think this is my last prepared question for you. I received this question from another viewer. Is there a possibility that the microgrid could transform into the traditional grid where we have an interconnected system of microgrids spanning across the world, kind of like the internet is, except instead of, transferring internet places, you're transferring power places?
So that's a terrific question, and I'm going to brag just a little bit while I answer that, okay?
Okay,
so,
no problem.
So a microgrid, by definition, is a group of resources that generate, store, and distribute electricity. So a lot of the competitors in that space, that storage and distribution is based on the clock. So sun shines at this time and it goes down at this time. So we're going to charge the batteries at this time and discharge the batteries at another time. CleanSpark's solution is very unique. What we have patented there's a stack of patents behind me on the shelf.
I like to see that.
One of the things that we've patented is the ability for the system to decide if and when to distribute energy to a requesting module. The reason that's important is it goes beyond scheduling. If the end user of a system says, resiliency is my number one priority, like for the United States Marine Corps, that microgrid is designed to keep the lights on all the time because it's mission critical. It's communications, navigations, guidance, and data. So that has to stay on all the time. Another customer, their priority might be cost avoidance. We want to make sure we save as much money on our bill as we can. Some of our other customers, like in Texas, for example, the public utilities are deregulated to the point that if you generate extra power that you don't need, you can then sell that and it becomes a revenue stream. Well, what all of those situations require, whether it's resiliency or whether it's cost avoidance and savings, or whether it's greenhouse gas reduction, or whether it's transactive energy, the ability to sell that power back and forth as a mode of income, those all have to be controlled by software. So the first software that we built, and it's evolved since then drastically, but the first system that we deployed at Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton, it's in daily operation today, has been every day since 2014. It's never been down.
Wow.
It's actually 5 microgrids that are nested together.
Wow.
So it's called the fractal grid, and it's designed, the architecture on that, not to go too techy, but it's designed with a fractal topology. So it's a single grid, but it's combined, it's a grid of grids. Mm-hmm. So the system makes the decision, if there's a disruption in power, we're going to take electricity away from the barracks and away from the armory, and we're going to put it to the data center and focus on navigation and guidance.
Wow.
And to have the system have that decision gate is really unique. So to answer your question, absolutely. One more quick example. I don't mean to be too long-winded. I'm clearly passionate about what we do. We had a client in just outside of San Diego, California, bought a big piece of land, building an estate, and there's no utilities to that piece of ground. So San Diego Gas and Electric comes in and they say, well, we can stub the utilities to the property and it's going to be X $100,000, whatever that case may be. So that customer then looks to CleanSpark. We design, engineer, construct, deploy, and manage a microgrid that house has a swimming pool and multiple air conditioners and several levels. They'll never have a power bill.
Wow.
So the idea of creating a number of those on a college campus or on a software campus and then integrating that together and have that system speak to a a community-based microgrid is absolutely where the future is going. Last point on that. There was a book published in 2015. There was a guy that used to host Nightline. His name was Ted Koppel. And he wrote a book called Lights Out. And he spent 3 years studying the US power grid. And he theorized that a coordinated attack on 9 critical points of intersection of the domestic power grid could leave parts of the country without power for more than a year.
Oh my
So
goodness.
when you think how fragile it is to have coast to coast, border to border, the entire grid is interconnected. And if you're talking about what a large scale disruption could do, that has a massive impact on every part of our society. And this isn't me being a doomsdayer, but what it is me talking about is, people trying to be proactive. I'm gonna put solar panels on the roof of my house because I want to make a difference. Does it make a difference? Absolutely. If the power goes down, if you have solar panels on your roof, do your lights still go out? Yep, they sure do. Because you don't store that energy. All it's doing is generating power to replace what you're consuming, but it doesn't store. So the ability to create this resilient power for hospitals and care facilities, that becomes an order of life-saving, right? It's providing power that is necessary to sustain life. Now you take it beyond that and you look at the ability to produce this power changes economics for some of our customers. We work with a shopping center developer. Well, right now retail is struggling. So this developer is looking at, okay, I've got a mall with 100 and some tenants. So I already have 3 megawatts of solar. If I add a fuel cell and a turbine and some batteries, and I can use CleanSpark system to integrate all of that together, now I can step in place of the utility and I can sell power to my tenants. So it changes the income of my property, which changes the value of my property. Oh, and by the way, in the event of a disruption in the community, it creates a safe place for people to go that has lights and temperature control, et cetera. So we absolutely believe that distributed power is the way of the future.
Wow. You just explained why a lot of investors like myself just love your company, just right there and then. A new question popped into my head. You pretty much answered it, I think, but the electric vehicle sector is just taken off like no other right now. There's people that think there's going to be nothing but electric vehicles on the roads by 2025. My question for you is, there's going to have to be a heck of a lot of charging stations going up around the country. To what extent could a microgrid, help with that? Or can these charging stations be powered by these microgrids? How big is the market there for the microgrids in the electric vehicle sector?
So, you look at all these EV companies that are just blowing up because of that, the theoretical and real demand. So the challenge becomes, there are always two sides to every argument, right? And you get the people that say there are places that rely heavily on coal-fired power plants even to this day. So the amount of coal-fired energy that it takes to recharge your Prius is more environmentally damaging than just filling it up with gas. And so as that is in fact true in a number of jurisdictions, the shift away from the non-renewable resources to focus more on renewable energy is exceptionally strong. And that's, kind of a unique niche that we fill. The ability to use a small microgrid nested within a residence to provide power for that EV charger, even just on a home or on a shopping center, to have that offered with a renewable component really makes it validates the claims about the environmental impact or the decreased environmental impact that a car would have. So is that part of our model going forward? Absolutely. I couldn't begin to forecast the size of that market yet because it's still developing.
It's emerging.
But the one thing, just like everything I've talked about today, what makes that work is software.
That's what you guys do best.
Indeed.
All right. Well, I think that's all the questions I had. Is there anything you would want to add, Matt?
No, I really appreciate you taking the interest in our company, Ben. We're, like I said before, we believe our stock is undervalued because of the fact that there aren't a lot of people that know about it. I talked in a press release a week or so ago that, we have 10 or 11,000 investors that now hold CleanSpark stock in their Robinhood account. And that's a huge win for us, because that's the story, that's the audience that we're trying to tell the story to. We want to disrupt an industry. You know, you put solar on, the utility just changes the rate structure, the tariff structure based on the time you use the energy. So they just make energy cheaper when your solar panels are working and charge you more for it later, just to kind of manipulate the value of solar and devalue those installations. And what we want to do, our focus is to put those decisions and put that power in the hands of the end consumer, and let the consumer, whether it's a commercial, industrial, military, or even a residential customer, to say, this is my priority. I want resiliency. I want cost avoidance. I want greenhouse gas reduction. And that's what matters to me. And we design, engineer, and control a system that meets those vectors for them. So to be able to speak to an audience of young people like yourself, I mean, it's exciting for me, because it indicates that people care about what we're doing and our message is starting to resonate. So I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today. It's a cool experience for me. I've never done anything like this before.
Well, you're the first one I've done an interview with as well, so we're both rookies here. Yeah, you know, just to add to your point, you know, young investors like myself, you know, we see a company like CleanSpark disrupting an industry. The young investors like myself are the investors that are willing to take that risk, that, you know, the disruption is going to happen. CleanSpark is going to be a monopoly. It's going to succeed. If I put my money in CleanSpark, I'm putting my money there because, you know, it's a calculated risk. I don't know. So yeah, your point too, you know, you have however many Robinhood investors holding CleanSpark. It's a great number, great thing to have, in my opinion. And I'm going to continue to do my part to share the word about CleanSpark, because I truly believe in what you guys do. You guys are a disruptive industry. And like I always tell my audience, I relate to younger investors. I tell them, you know, if you want to find a successful investment, find a company that's, you know, emerging, find a company that's being disruptive, that has the resources and the potential to succeed. You know, investors were missing that. They didn't dive deep enough into CleanSpark in the past, and just now more investors are looking into the company. So again, I congratulate you guys on the new Costa Rica partnership. That's huge news for you guys, along with everything else you guys have going on currently. So yeah, thanks for joining me today, Matt. It means a lot.
Absolutely. I look forward to talking to you again soon, Ben.
Awesome.
All right. Take care.
Yeah.